Parents, what is the absolute worst thing your child has done? A new head child recently started at my son's daycare. He was having a difficult time being away from his mom for the first time and spend most of the day crying. When the classroom door would open, my son would run to the new kid exclaiming about how his mom was there, and then laugh when the disappointment crying set in. He did it 6 times. At age 2, my son wandered outside naked to play with his older siblings just as the neighbors started walking in a couple they were trying to sell their house FSBO to. He proceeded to bend over, butt facing them, and started shooting out diarrhea. I saw this through the dining room window and was shrieking at him, my husband, God and all of humanity stop, which I think just brought more attention to him. They were laughing, but I felt awful, said it was a visiting kid and apologized. My brother and I used to jump on our parents' bed with a plunger and plunge ourselves to the ceiling and hang. The amount of rings on the ceiling made my parents have to repaint at least twice. Brilliant. Just to let you know, the plunging does not stop at the ceiling. We had plunge our stomachs while the plunge was wearing skates and pull each other around the house and on the treadmill. I had a ducking fantastic childhood. The diaper explosions were bad enough. Shit coming out the top of the diaper, the leg holes, everywhere. But the day he managed to wake up slightly before me, take his diaper off, and throw shit everywhere, it was all over his crib, it was on the windows, on the walls, on his balls. I was proud of how well he could throw things until that day, and it was that squishy, runny poop, so it was not like neatly thrown balls of shit. No, little trails of feces on the floor heading in random directions. Shit on books, shit in nooks, shit in crannies, shit on jammies, shit over here, shit over there. There was shit everywhere. The little shit-eating grin, yes, he ate some. It was on his face and lips when I walked into his room, left me speechless like nothing else has in my entire life. It looked like somebody was brutally beat and murdered in his room, and they bled foul-smelling, lumpy brown blood. When I was 6, my family had a toilet with a wooden-looking seat cover, so I spent an entire day collecting pine sap from the trees around my house. Pine sap is the most sticky and annoying substance that I know of. It does not wash off and will remain very sticky for days. Being the evil little shit that I was, I spread the sap very carefully all over the toilet seat, making sure that the nearly clear sap was cleverly disguised by the wood. Fast forward 3 hours, Mom took a shit and oh boy was she mad. Turns out, my parents had fancy dinner reservations because it was their 10-year anniversary. What perfect timing. She showered for with the hottest water she could stand while my dad stood outside of the shower handing her various household cleaning products to rub on her ass. None of them worked. They still went to dinner, but they skipped the movie because Mom's loose dress was stuck to her butt in an awkward ring shape. Not a parent, but my half-brother. Mom had him with another guy, who was abusive, and they left had problems with ADHD and other anger issues. He would get in a lot of fights growing up, even took it out on my mom. He would smack her and punch her. My dad worked all day, sometimes 14-hour days, and my mom would not say anything. But finally my dad found out when my brother was about 16. He put my brother in counseling, and that did not help but just make it worse. The first big thing my brother did was when he was 18 he stole my mom's wedding ring and pawned it for cigarette money. My mom found out later on and she forgave him. Why? I do not know. The next thing was my brother took a picture of my dad and put it on coffee cans around local gas stations with a piece of paper saying that my dad needed heart surgery but we could not afford it. So he was scamming everyone. Friend of my dad's called him, all worried, and we found out. My dad had enough and called the police and had him arrested to try to teach him a lesson. He gave the money back, and my dad kicked him out. The last thing, just this last year my brother had been living in Colorado and had called my mom saying he and his wife would be having a child. My mom was so excited that she would finally be blessed with her first grandchild. So she flew out to Colorado on my brother's wife's due date to see the baby girl born. Well, she did not end up having the child while my mom was there. About a week after my mom getting home, my brother calls and says that the baby was born dead. Of course, we are all super distressed, especially my mom. It was a rough time for all of us, but my brother's wife's mother calls my mom and says that she is 99% sure they faked the entire thing to get money out of both families. We as a family had come up with almost $2,000. My brother would not show a death certificate when asked, and when my mom called the hospital they had said they had not had a baby be born dead in a month, so he scammed us for the last time. I cannot even remember the last time I felt so angry, and even writing this pisses me off. Duck him. Edit. I did not really expect to get so many replies. An update on the situation now that I have time. My brother now has told my mom he had another child, in which I can kind of believe because he has sent us pictures of the birth certificate, but we will not be giving them money. I am basically done with him and all right now. Puke on me while I was asleep. Walked up to the bed and woke me up by projectile vomiting at me. Milk and banana vomit. My daughter just turned 1 and is still nursing, which is mostly fine and easy and whatever, but in the last few weeks she has started biting me on the nipple, which would be okay if I thought it was an accident, but she laughs afterward. She will chomp down. I will say ow and then remove her and say that we do not bite people, and she will ducking laugh like a maniac. I think she might be the devil. As the child, I got into an argument with my mom, and I said something pretty insulting. Do not really remember what, and she said, "What if I was struck by lightning tomorrow? What would you say then?" And I responded with, "Good." I did not get to leave the house that month. My 4-year-old daughter told a little boy at daycare who was crying to stop being a ducking bitch. Nothing really terrible, but I will always remember one of my kids taking off his poopy diaper during nap time and finger painting the walls with it. He was covered, the mattress was covered, every tiny crack in the crib rails was covered, shit everywhere. The little stinker was happy as a clam. I was not amused. Oh, here we go. I have been waiting to tell this one. About a year and a half ago, I bought a brand new 3D TV. Cash. I was so proud of myself. About a month after the purchase, I am on the phone with my grandma. In the kitchen, I hear a banging. Grandma, I got to go. Walk into the kitchen. My 2-year-old has destroyed the screen with a screwdriver. Where did he even find a screwdriver? Why, he was watching Wreck-It Ralph. I shit you not. Yes, he wrecked it alright. Not a parent myself, but I was the terrible child. My parents both work in the medical field and, as a result, raised me to know anatomically correct terms. It was penis and vagina, not wee-wee and TT. Apparently I was circumcised later than the normal age due to some weird condition my dick has fine now, and I could already talk. I also attended a private Catholic school at the time. Well, I attended their younger children's preparatory school. We were sitting in mass in their large cathedral with about 500-600 of my parents' peers, and I would not stop messing with myself, as I had just had my foreskin lopped off. My mother brought me into her lap and kept grabbing my hands to prevent me from irritating the sight any further. I would not stop, so she finally just grabbed my hands and placed them on my lap to hold them still. Just then, the entire congregation fell silent to say the Lord's Prayer, and I yelled, "Mommy, stop touching my penis." This was immediately followed by shocked silence and the solitary sound of my dad laughing his ass off. My dad still tells me it is the whitest, most embarrassed he has ever seen anyone in their life. Unfortunately for them, it would not be the last time their child rearing would get them in trouble in a public setting. Banks, grocery stores, dinner parties, nothing was sacred to my foul mouth. It is not really bad, but my son slammed a kid's face into a concrete sidewalk. Baxter, he was 6 years old and at school. We had a bully issue the year before and he was still traumatized. Fast forward a year and he is outside during recess when it is time to line up and go back to class. A kid starts picking on his friend, so my son grabs this bully by the hair, throws him on the ground, and slams his face into the concrete. I got the call and had to bring my son home for the day. He was not punished by me nor the school. The other child was suspended for 3 days. TLDR, bullies suck. So this was something I did when I was 2 years old. I was in the Munich-Frankfurt airport on a layover with my mom. who was pregnant with my little brother at the time. After our long trip from the States, my mom was exhausted and she unintentionally fell asleep at the gate for a little while. I was a terror of a child. Naturally, I wandered off. My mom wakes up about 15 minutes later and starts freaking out because I am gone. After a few minutes of losing her shit, she sees me walking back towards the gate, only I am not alone. I have a fully armed German military escort. I was walking back holding hands with one officer, while the others had me surrounded, with the biggest shit-eating grin on my face. Turns out, back then all the flight numbers and times were listed on a big board that had rolling numbers and letters link instead of on televisions. Think the rolling counter that keeps score on a pinball machine. I had climbed behind the board and manually changed practically the entire ducking thing, rolling all the numbers back, having the time of my life, sending the terminal into a frenzy. Everyone was confused about their flight numbers and times because they no longer matched their boarding passes, and they had no clue that some asshole kid was behind this board changing all the information. Eventually I was busted by these soldiers. When they returned me to my mom, they tied a balloon to my hand so that my mom could always see where I was because she could not keep up with me since she was pregnant and my dad was back in the States. She took me into the restroom and locked us in a stall where she cried throughout the remainder of our layover. 1010 would do again. Sorry mom, I love you. Edit. It was Frankfurt, not Munich, and I added an image. When my dad was young he bit off my grandma's mole and ate it. My parents would probably say when I burned down a church, set fire to another church bathroom, a private school classroom, our guest room and a family friend's bathroom, I used to be a bit of a pyromaniac. All this took place when we lived in Brazil. I used to get a hold of the box of matches left in bathrooms people customarily put for use after a smelly sitting. I learned my lesson at the age of 9 when a nanny held my finger over a candle giving me a pretty bad blister. My parents were okay with that. I have not played with fire since. He is too. He was sitting on the counter while my wife was cooking. He liked to open the microwave door and close it, no big deal, until the microwave turned on, with her new HTC One in it. For your information, it only takes 3 seconds to kill a cell phone in a microwave. I consider myself lucky that this is his greatest destruction-related accomplishment so far. My 2-year-old daughter is big into soccer. A couple of months ago I got a free pack of World Cup stickers in the newspaper and gave them to her. She asked me who they were, so I taught her the names of those 5 players. Ronaldo, Hugo Lloris, then we came to Yaya Toure. I wish I never opened the pack of stickers as she now thinks that every black person is called Yaya Toure. Cut to a few weeks ago, we get a knock on the door. It is the new Nigerian neighbors from a few doors down introducing themselves. All well and good until my daughter wanders up to the door. Look daddy, it is Yaya Toure's, points at each one of them individually. Yaya Toure, Yaya Toure, Yaya Toure, Yaya Toure and baby Yaya Toure. Hello Yaya Toures. I did not know what to say, just smiled and said welcome to the neighborhood with a face blood red with embarrassment. Edit. TLDR, my 2-year-old is a racist. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.